Do you ever feel like your teammates are actual doorknobs? Like, how did my DPS even get 17 deaths? However, my Sojourn going 6 and 17 inspired me. I decided to change every Overwatch hero into some sort of inanimate object that will better represent my teammates in my ranked games. Like and subscribe if I accurately represented your ranked teammates, and comment down below your favorite inanimate object, or any inanimate objects I should have used. For Ana, I went with the obvious choice of her becoming a bed. Rather than trying to sleep dart the enemy, she sleep darts herself, which accurately represents when my Ana shoots a sleep dart into a deflecting Genji. However, to make my teammate useful, when anyone goes near Ana in bed form, she will put them to sleep, because she's very comfortable to sleep on. Next up alphabetically is Ashe. However, I'm going to actually skip to Cassidy. We all know that Cassidy's name is Cole Cassidy, so when he gets shot by any damage, he will light on fire and start burning. When Cole Cassidy dies, because he's Cole, he will turn into Ashe. Like, literally will turn into Ashe. So it's kind of like having a second stage of your life. You know how boss fights, how there's the first stage, and then when that gets melted down, they go into their second and more powerful stage? Well, Cassidy's like a weak first stage, then when he dies, he turns into Ashe. The one downside with this is that it might double your deaths, but that will accurately describe my DPS, and is probably how my Sojourn went 6 and 17. By the way, when you die as Ashe, you will respawn as Cole Cassidy. Next up is Baptiste, and I turned him into a trampoline. Whenever I try to kill a Baptiste, he always jumps away, while my teammates will just stand there and die. So in order to fix this, Baptiste will have the option to fall over and become a trampoline for his teammates. Next up is Bastion, and I turned him into a birdhouse. When Bastion goes into sentry form, he turns into the house, and then when that house is over, it will fall over and kill anyone inside, or at the very minimum, do a lot of damage. The house falling apart represents my Bastion completely getting melted in sentry form because he thinks he can kill everyone, but he can't. But at least when everything falls apart, at least he'll be useful now. Next up is Brigitte, and I turned her into a baguette. When you melee Brigitte, she instantly dies, but the downside of eating Brigitte the baguette is you turn French, the worst type of fate. This represents the time when somebody poisoned a bunch of bread in France. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that happened. Next up is wait, we already did him. Next up is Diva, and I actually had help from Super Slime with this one, so shout out to him again. And we made Baby Diva into her own mech. So rather than playing as Diva's mech, then getting out and turning into Diva, you are just Diva with all the powers of the mech. This represents how my teammates always lose their mech, and then rather than respawning, they stagger, stay as Baby Diva, and right before they get their ultimate, they die. At least now they will be useful outside of mech. For Doomfist, he is a literal nuke. When you ultimate as Doomfist, you turn yourself into a nuke that you can just place on anyone. Not really much to say here, I just thought it'd be funny to have a nuclear bomb. For Echo, I turned her into an Alexa home assistant. If you say group up, you will teleport your home assistant to you. If you say I need healing, your Alexa will heal you. If you say attack, your Alexa will attack. If you say go forward, she'll go forward. And if you say fall back, your Alexa will fall back. Next up is Genji, and he's a Lawnmower. If you go up to someone as Genji the Lawnmower, you will start dealing damage to them because you're eating them with a lawnmower. I honestly don't remember who suggested this one, but thank you because it's really funny and this is probably my favorite change. Next up is Hanzo, and he becomes a lightning storm. When you use Storm Arrow, you turn into a beautiful cloud, and when you shoot the arrows, you'll strike lightning down. This is very similar to when I did the dumb changes and I just had it so if you did damage, a lightning strike would strike. Well, Zuper this time made it so the lightning bolt goes from you to the target, and it looks cool. This represents my power going out in the middle of a competitive game. Multiple times actually. I went on a walk, it was great. For Illari, she is a lock because she is locked behind a paywall or like 50 battle pass levels. However, she's unlocked in the custom game, so feel free to play her. Next up is Junkrat Queen, and I turned her into a magnet. When you throw out Queen's secondary fire, she'll push people away. And then if you hit the knife, which I made more accurate, you can bring them back in. But I actually imported the change from the Disasters game mode into this one. And now when Junkrat Queen ultimates, she will turn into a tornado. So she kind of has two changes, but that's because I thought the magnet was kind of boring. So now she's a tornado. Next up is Junkrat, and he's a hubcap on a Honda Civic. This is more or less tire point of view. You are a tire, you hopefully get a kill, and then you die. Just like how my Junkrat will always tire and spawn, and then the timer will run out before it can even get to anyone, and he just wastes his ultimate. With that being said, now we can suit his playstyle. He can be fully protected in spawn, and he can live his dreams as a hubcap of a Honda Civic. Next up is Kiriko, and you know how you should see her on her bike? Well, now she is the bike. There is literally nothing different about Kiriko, except she is faster, and she's a bike. This represents how you should see her on her bike, but actually, she is the bike. Next up is Lifeweaver, and I went with the obvious, a tree. When you put down your tree, you also become a tree. You become one with nature, just like Lifeweaver always wanted you to be. Anyways, I turned Lucio into a dispenser, and it kind of reminds me of Illari's ability where she can put a thing down and heal people. Also the Team Fortress 2 dispenser. It's just that you can actually just literally get value by doing nothing on Lucio and just standing there and healing. So I turned him into a dispenser, because sometimes my teammates are incompetent, and just going Lucio and healing would be the best option for them. Next up is Mei, and kind of like Hanzo, instead of becoming a lightning storm, she becomes an ice storm. And rather than you controlling the lightning where it goes, random icicles will just shoot out. And it's very, very inaccurate because it just goes in a random direction. Or I should say it comes from a random direction in the cloud. But when there's like 4 of them coming after you, it's really scary and kind of funny. Which is why No Limits is off. However, if No Limits is off, it then breaks it. So I'm not sure if when you put the code on, whether No Limits will be on or off. But we tried it with No Limits. And it was scary. By the way, if you look up and you do not place the ice wall or cancel it, the storm will go on for 10 seconds. However, if you place the ice wall, you can actually shoot yourself, but the storm will end quicker. So you can decide what you want to do with the ice storm. Next up is Mercy, and rather than her being an inanimate object, she's gonna be an animal, but most Mercy mains are animals anyway, so we'll just move on. Joke, please don't cancel me. When you ultimate as Mercy, you will turn into a moth, and then be intrigued by the sun, and fly straight up. This will happen no matter what, even if you're inside, even if it's nighttime. You'll be so intrigued by the ceiling, that you will fly into it anyways. Next up is Moira, and she is uranium. Moira will damage herself because she's radioactive. She will damage her teammates because she's radioactive. But she will damage the enemy more when you're within range of her. It's the DPS Moira in all of us. Next up is Orisa, and she's my overheated PC. My PC used to overheat all the time until I fixed it. But it has so many good parts in it. And then it just started overheating, and I was just about to lose it because my PC was unplayable. Anyways, to relive the memories of my PC overheating if I did anything extensive, Orisa's gun will immediately overheat. However, it does more damage because it damaged my files, and I completely had to reset my PC multiple times. Next up is Pharah, and she's a plane. Yeah, literally, she's just a plane. So if you primary fire, she'll shoot out bullets. If you press your E, you'll drop a little bomb down. And unfortunately, we were going to make her boost do a little shoot forward, but we weren't able to get it correctly. So instead, her jets work the exact same, but it is kind of nice getting off the ground using it. Next up is Ramattra, and I turned him into a battering ram. When he is in Nemesis form, if he gets close to someone, he'll ram through them. Just like how the enemy rams me in the ass. Next up is Reaper, and he is Gun, the person. If you hold down your primary fire, you will be a machine gun that shoots machine gun pellets. And then whenever you go into Wraith form or you teleport, you do a shotgun blast. Quite honestly, this is another one of those changes that doesn't make much sense. It's just a bunch of gun parts, or I should say different types of guns, but it's more just fun to use. It also really looks cool. So again, this is one of my favorite changes, honestly. Moving on to Reinhardt, he is a helicopter. If you hold down your shield, you will start spinning. And then once you start spinning enough, you'll start lifting off like a helicopter. Unfortunately, you can't really control it, but if you spam your primary fire, you'll start shooting out rockets in random directions. And somehow if one of the rockets start going towards someone, it will home in on them and do like 50 damage. If you're lucky, this might do something. Also, if the shield gets broken, you'll get broken and you'll start falling. Next up is Roadhog, and he's a grappling hook. When you hook, you'll start a grapple, and then wherever your hook lands, or over 20 meters, it will connect the wire, and it will launch you to that place. This doesn't even have to be on the surface because it's just more fun that way. I know technically that Roadhog doesn't become the grappling hook, but just like it being able to be connected to anything, it's just more fun when Roadhog's not the actual grappling hook. So I more gave Roadhog an inanimate object. Plus, even when you switch off Roadhog, the grappling hook will still be there, but it doesn't work without the Roadhog. So technically, if you think about it, Roadhog is kind of the grappling hook, but the grappling hook just doesn't turn on without the Roadhog. Roadhog's the power source, that's what it is. Roadhog is the grappling hook power source, I guess. Next up is Sigma, and he's a Roomba. Just like a vacuum cleaner, when he sucks people in. That's about it. Vacuum cleaners aren't that interesting. So go and give people the good suck. Next up is Sojourn, and she's a hockey stick. So with Sojourn, you cannot shoot, you cannot secondary fire unless you're in your ultimate, but you have a hockey puck. And if the hockey puck touches people, they die rapidly. So with Sojourn, you literally just want to play hockey and try and hit people with your hockey puck. It is actually kind of funny and really fun. You can also slide with it even. This represents the time that Anthony, who is Canadian, said he was about to pull off a clip, and then he proceeded to punch himself off the map. Next up is Soldier 76, and he is the rocket. Rather than firing a helix rocket, you actually just fire off one rocket. You can control it, it blows up, it does about 120 damage. It's actually really fun to use and I really like it. This represents Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. How does this link with Overwatch? I don't know. Next up is Sombra, and she is literally just a shadow. When you go invisible, you leave a bunch of black particles, but you are much faster and it only lasts for 4 seconds or until you're shot out of it. Since Sombra means shade or shadow in Spanish, that's why I turned her into a shadow, and the reason I did this was because I don't like Sombra. She is my most played. Real quick tangent, I really hope the Sombra rework is good, because I do not like current Sombra. That's why I made it so she can only be in invisibility for 4 seconds, and I actually made it so she is hacked while in invisibility, so she can no longer hack people in invisibility, because I find that stupid. I don't like playing against her, I don't like playing as her anymore, so I decided to turn her into an object that I thought would be fun gameplay-wise. Next up is Symmetra, and she is a straight line. She likes symmetry, so I made her symmetrical. Unlike the snake change in one of my older videos, being a straight line is not permanent and is curable, and that's why I'm gay. Next up is Torbjorn, and he is the turret. I mean, let's be real here. Your teammates aren't doing anything when they play Torbjorn, the turret is. So why not just be the turret in the first place? Next up is Tracer, and she is a clock. When she blinks, she speeds up the match time just by a little bit, and when she recalls, she rewinds 3 seconds of the match time. This doesn't represent anything, I just want to get out of this match, because my tank isn't making space, my DPS can't kill anything, and my healers aren't healing, and it is clearly not my fault. Next up is Widowmaker, and I turned her into a window. The idea with this is if you go into a corridor, and you turn into a window, and somebody runs into you, they ram their face like a bird not knowing that glass is there, and they take damage and almost die. This is the best way to make my AFK Widow useful and actually get value. Next up is Winston, and he is peanut butter because he's looking like a snack. If you eat Winston, you become him. You are what you eat, and now you are a jar of peanut butter. Next up is Wrecking Ball, and I gave him the actual point of view of a ball. If someone melees you, you get kicked away like a ball. It's just like how my Wrecking Ball doesn't ever go out of ball form. He just rolls around and doesn't even shoot his gun and just spins on payload and then dies. Very short lifespan, like actual hamsters. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone cares about these antidotes anymore. I've gone through like 35 of them now. Next up is Zarya, and she is a leaf blower. When you put up your bubble, you'll start pushing people back and do damage to them because you're blowing leaves into their face. Although kinda simple, it's actually kinda fun pushing people off the objective. There's a lot of knockback in this game mode, so it's just fun pushing people around and actually doing damage, unlike the vacuum cleaner. Because Sigma is careful, he gives the good suck. Unlike Zarya, who does damage. I need to stop. And finally, the most useful change of them all, Zenyatta is a toaster. If you go near Zenyatta when he's in toaster form, just like Rotom Oven, he will burn you up and turn you into a piece of bread, also known as a baguette. And I hope you guys enjoyed the most useful changes. Hopefully your inanimate object teammates will be useful now that they can be inanimate objects. As I said in the beginning, like and subscribe and comment your favorite changes or any changes you wish you would have seen. And before you go, I actually have in the pinned comment a Google form to a future video that I'm going to do where I'm going to rank every skin, but rather than ranking it, I'm going to have your guys' opinion and I'm going to show you guys the most popular skins for each hero. So feel free to fill it out, and if you only want to do a couple of them, just put like NA or none for the rest of them. Also, I forgot to put Illari on the poll, so feel free to put that in the first section. It's supposed to be there just for a funny note, but I guess now it has a purpose. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all later.